You're listening to If You Know You Grow the podcast. I'm your host, Chantel Braley, and I have over 15 years experience in marketing, e-commerce, and really all things creative. I'm so excited to take you behind the scenes of thriving businesses, hear from amazing industry experts, and chat a little bit about the mindset that it takes to really succeed in this industry. Please follow, like, and subscribe so that I can continue creating amazing content for you and sharing these incredible stories. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. We are back for another week, and this episode is filmed not in advance because as much as I really wanted to get into like the batch filming, editing thing, which is like the reality of life, like we're not there yet. And that's okay. I'm giving myself a little bit of grace with that. I think coming into the new year has been interesting because I felt such a great energy around everybody being like all guns blazing. However, I'm a firm believer that Australia doesn't fully start until after the long weekend. And so here we are, long weekend has ended. Kids are back in school. Like, I love everybody's like first day of school photos. I don't know. I think that it's just the cutest thing that has ever existed. But all the kids are back in school. You know, my mom friends have all had their sorrows and tears and crying of their little babies growing up. And I feel like something just psychologically clicks where we're like, we're no longer on summer holidays. It's time to lock in. And it's time to like really set yourself up for this year. And then I think we get another wind at the start of the new financial year. So I guess those are quite unique to Australia where I feel like no one else really ever gets them. So I think 2025, like if we recap it, right? Because I'm still on New Year energy, theoretically. If we recap 2025, it was the most transformational year of my life, not because of necessarily work that I did in 2025, but because the work that I had done in previous years really started to hit me and take effect. So I'm going to talk about some of those things quite openly. There will probably be some things that maybe I don't talk about openly, but it's such a weird world of figuring out what do I share and what do I want to be public about and what do I want to be private about. I think watching so many, amazing brands and amazing creators, there's this like parasocial focus of everything needs to be shared all the time. And I think I'm going to share everything when I'm ready. So here we are with the 5 things that I did that changed my life in 2025. And like I said, I started the work in previous years, but I really started to implement these things and it changed everything. So the first thing that I did in 2025 is I really locked into my schedule. And I don't know if this was like a COVID symptom or like what it was, but everybody was leaning into like soft girl energy. And that's not a problem. I am someone who probably operates too hard all the time. And sometimes that means that like I end up like dying of exhaustion in a ball of flames. And I really needed to learn to get past that. But I needed to learn how to make my schedule work first and foremost for me. So the ways that I did that was 1, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. When my gym actually started opening at 4:30, I got really excited because I had extra time. But I want time just for me. I want time when no one is online. I know that I struggle with like properly snoozing my notifications and not being available. So me having that like 4:30 to 7 a.m. is incredibly valuable for me. It sets me up for success. It means that I am not missing an opportunity to work out. It means that I have time to meditate. It means that I get to do all of the things that are effectively me things. And you know what? Today I didn't do the me things. Today I decided to sleep in because I am really tired this week. I think it's like a mixture of like the weather and then like, girl problems about to get my period. Sorry for the 8% of male listeners out there. Periods do exist. But like I've missed that today and I'm totally okay with it because I made that decision. But otherwise, I'm quite locked in. My favorite thing that I actually get to do during the week from a workout perspective is I do Run Club, which is a version of Barry's on Saturday. And my goal this year is I'm going to do 52 of those, which means if there's a Saturday where I can't do it, I need to make that up during the week. And I'm committing to the fact that I need to do 52. Whereas I think last year I did 10. So that's actually a huge increase. Maybe I did more than 10. I do like quite a few when I'm in Sydney because it's a workout style that's available down there. And I feel like has like really consistent quality control. But locking in with my schedule was something that was really important. It also then meant that if I was done by 3 o'clock, I could theoretically be done by 3 o'clock, and I could switch off and I could go hang out with a friend, or I could go for a walk, or I could do any of the things that I wanted to do because I got my hard workout in the morning. I've thought about doing something like 75 hard, but in a positive way. I think like my life already exists kind of like 75 hard. So do I need more rules? I don't necessarily know if I need any more rules with that. If I was you, I would look at your week and figure out where can you actually carve times out in your week to make your schedule work for you, whether that's pushing back meetings, putting in quiet hours, stepping away from your desk to make sure that you eat. It's those like little micro habits that I think really add up to the bigger outcome. And like my micro habit was, I'm going to have that early morning for myself and I'm going to commit to that. And the flow on effect to that was my health improved, my sleep quality improved, my mood definitely improved, which then improved my confidence. So you can kind of see how one like little action then made everything else so much better. When you look better and you feel better about yourself, you are a more delightful human being, hands down. That may sound really vain, but it's true. I think I had so many comments where people were like, oh my God, you're glowing. And I'm like, I'm glowing because I'm actually in physically better health and I don't dislike looking at myself in the mirror anymore. The next thing that I did in 2025, which was different in previous years, is I learned to say no. So I am a chronic people pleaser, and part of that will never change because part of the way that I like to be present and please the people that matter to me actually makes me me. It is like one of my superpowers in that sense. But I don't need to do that for everybody. And it was actually an unrealistic expectation for me to do that to everybody. So I was the person previously where I'm like, oh, you want me to help you? Jump how high? And that needed to stop. I needed to learn to say no. And it was really interesting when I started creating barriers. One, I had even more time to invest in the people that mattered. So those really great friends of mine became closer. They felt more present. They felt more valued. But also it meant that I wasn't draining myself in order to make someone else happy. Like saying no is actually a totally acceptable thing. The other thing, when it came to work tasks, when I learned to say no and not instantly say yes or find a way to make it happen, when I learned to say no, it meant that I then began to optimize the reason behind the no or the strategy behind the no. So I had to be really confident in why I was saying no, but I also needed to have a workaround because you can't just say no. Like it depends on the thing. If it's like, oh, do you want to go out tonight? No, that's fine. I unfortunately suffer from FOMO, so I rarely say no, but oftentimes, if someone wanted something at work or someone wanted this and I knew it was the wrong thing, I would try to make it happen because if it wasn't morally wrong, then I would want to make somebody feel seen and feel heard. But that actually wasn't setting themselves up for success. So me learning to say no meant that I needed to be more empowered in what I was doing and why I was doing it. And having intention in what you're doing is actually super powerful. Number 3 feeds into number 2, but I removed guilt. I used to feel guilty and feel as though I wasn't enough for people. And this last year, 2025, I think I needed to shift a lot of my relationships and a lot of my friendships. And one thing I did was I actually fell back in love with myself. How did that happen? I don't know. I guess I needed to see myself through the eyes of people that I really respected, and I needed to see the way that they saw me. And when somebody that you love or somebody that you respect immensely is in awe of you, that is a type of validation that I don't think you can get from anywhere else. And it's hard because, you might want me to sit here and be like, you should be your own hype girl and you should validate yourself. Like, that's just not the reality that we live in. I do really love myself. And I've always known that I was intelligent. I have always known that I was a hard worker, but I don't think that I genuinely saw magic in myself. And there were a couple of people that came into my life last year who were all very different. And some of them had been there in the wings for a while, but our relationships changed and I got closer to them. I think some people just maybe opened up a little bit more with, how they felt about me and how they saw me. And then there were a couple new people that were introduced in, and having somebody that you look up to being in awe of you is just such an incredible feeling, especially when those people are people who are telling the truth and aren't just like fluffing you up just to make you feel cool. I had my friend Keto, who I've spoken about on the pod before. He actually came to the event that we had last year, and like, God, I might have said this already, but I'm going to repeat it because I think this is like the power of how other people perceive you, right? So he does vlogs and he's quite content savvy, and he decided to walk around and ask people questions about the event, which is so cool. But one of the things that he did was he actually asked people, like, I don't remember exactly what the question was because I feel like everybody answered it quite differently, but it was like, what makes me special or what they love about me or something like that. So it was like a 2.5 minute, I don't know, something clip. And it was just a breakdown. Just smacked the mic. It was just a breakdown of like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know exactly what it was, but they were able to share just how they felt about me. And the fact that I have this to keep, what an incredibly kind, thoughtful thing for this person to do for me, because obviously he had to edit it, think of the concept, like do all of that. But there are things that I know that I'm good at, and I've always really been confident about me being good at. But it was so interesting to see the different perspectives of what people had to say about me. And even in a professional capacity, me being a boss bitch, or like, because I feel like that's always used, or like me being smart or whatever, that wasn't what people valued the most. And I love that because I don't think that's what I would necessarily value the most in myself. So you don't get that often, and it's going to always be something that I value. And when I told someone else about that, they followed up with what they loved most about me. And it was really just my attitude, the fact that I could take anything and just be so optimistic and so, like, I don't want to say delusional, but I think like delusional is the right word. Like, it is that excerpt of Marty Supreme, and maybe like we'll even add it into the video just so that you can like hear it.
And what do you plan to do if this whole dream of yours doesn't work out?
That doesn't even enter my consciousness.
Maybe it should.
But it's, him talking about like the thought of failure doesn't even cross his mind. And I think everything that I've been through in my life, and I know I've shared little bits of it, but I see rainbows and sunshine in every aspect of my life, and I love my life. Even when I'm sad, and even when I do not feel great that day, I still genuinely see the fact that this is something I have to learn, something I have to get through in order to get where I want to go. If you hear beeping, that is because this is in an industrial area, and apparently Wednesday morning is trash day, is what I'm going to say right now. So, but we're going to continue. But like this point of like, I removed the guilt. I allowed myself to do things that I wanted to do without guilt and remove the people pleasing. And that actually made me a better person. It didn't make me this like selfish, horrible person. It made me better. And, I've definitely had some moments of feeling guilty over not being present. And instead of feeling guilty over not being present, I am shifting and looking at the fact that like, I'm not actually the villain in this, my schedule is. So what can I change in my schedule, or what can I change in what I'm doing, or what can I optimize in order to make sure that I don't feel this level of guilt? Because guilt is like the byproduct of something else not functioning in my life. It's not actually something that I need to wear and something that I need to continue with. So the next thing, and like, look, maybe it's because they all come out of my mind, but I feel like everything just has a trend. But I leaned into things that would grow me without remorse. So, I talked about the fact that I didn't feel guilty. I stopped feeling bad about doing things that would make me a better person, whether this was spending money on health and wellness, whether this was, being really selfish and like canceling a meeting that I knew wasn't going to actually help anybody. Really doubling down on concepts and strategies that I believed in, which have all paid off. I learned that like if I was going to see the outcome of growth, it was okay for things to feel a little bit uncomfortable in order for me to get to that level of growth. And I didn't need to feel bad or guilty about this. Like I've said many times that like last year was the year of being selfish, and it needed to be the year of being selfish because where I'm at and the way that I'm operating and the goals that I have for 2026 mean that I do need to show up in a very specific capacity, and I have new responsibilities, and I'm not going to be able to do that if I don't prioritize things that are going to grow me, whether that's travel opportunities, sometimes saying no to work that I could financially benefit from, but they could also benefit from me. Like if I know it's not actually the right path for me, like that's it. Like you still feel this this feeling in saying no to work sometimes where it's almost like a scarcity mindset thing of being like, oh, I shouldn't say no to that. But do you know what? You need to say no to that because it's not actually where you want to go. And the upside of that is if I say no to somebody, it's not that I don't like them. It's that one, maybe I acknowledge I'm not the right person for them because there are so many talented people in this industry and you need the right person for the right season because there's never a one size fits all rule. Or alternatively, maybe it's just because I know that I'm such a passion-led person that like I have a list of people and brands and like I have a list. I have my dream list. And there are going to be brands that I don't know about that don't exist on that list. But if I know that I'm not going to show up and be super excited and I'm just showing up for you and not actually your product, then I'm not going to be able to fake it. And like there are certain things I believe in faking it till you make it, but I think I'm at the point in my career where I'm not going to feel guilty about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to somebody who's going to be the better opportunity for you. And the last thing is I became really comfortable with value. And that's the value that I deliver. And when I can't deliver that value or when I'm not the right fit, so it kind of feeds into what I was saying before, but also one of the hardest things when you are starting to do work on your own or when you're consulting or doing freelance work, it's that fine line between like, how do I add value into a business and make sure that I'm charging my worth without undercutting myself? And then also from my side is how do I make sure whatever I'm charging, I actually agree with the business paying? Because profitability is a huge, huge thing. And I think this is going to be something that I want to dive into a lot this year. And, we're going to have different experts that will come in and chat about profitability. But how can I advise you to make profitable decisions if I'm not a profitable decision for your business? So, there are so many people that, and I think this is like where I feel really weird about the coaching world because, I've thought about like, do I want to coach, right? Do I need somebody? And for a lot of reasons, I think I do, but I need to find the right person, right? And there are a lot of coaches there that are there for mindset and the value that they add is incredible. And then on the flip side, there's other people who like, I think it's really trendy and it's a cash grab, or they give really bad, really, really, really bad advice, right? So again, there's no one size fits all rule. I don't feel a certain way about anything like specific in this industry, but I think like there needs to be value in everything that you do. So when I'm talking about courses that I'm working on or like things that I want to release, it's because I realized that I wanted to be able to be accessible and add value, right? The purpose of this podcast is accessibility. I want to make sure that one, I'm sharing what I'm working on and my ideas and my concepts. I want to amplify the voices of the people around me. I really want to chat about mindset. Like I was so surprised that my mindset podcasts were so highly reviewed and so highly listened to last year. But I'm like, I guess it's like the transference of wealth of I've spent a lot of money to work on to get where I am. So it kind of makes sense that I would want to pass that on because I've never nailed it. Like I'm not perfect, but I've come so far from where I am. And like I would only have this information. I wouldn't have this information if I didn't have someone else share it with me. So me understanding my value, me understanding what I needed to charge, and then also me understanding where I needed to invest. Like 2025 was the best year of financial investments for me. It was the best year of, investments like in myself, I don't even want to know how much I've spent on like NAD plus injections. So, which if you guys don't know what that is, I'd Google it. It's like, I will be honest in the fact that I think I saw like Kendall Jenner getting them and I'm like, look, if it's good enough for our girl Kenny, it's good enough for me, right? But what NAD plus actually does is it helps your cognitive function, your sleep, all of those things that you need as someone who is high performing. Me a year ago would have never taken, 2 years ago, would have never taken the time and spent the money. But now that I take the time and I spend the money, I actually perform better. So high return on investment. Money is something that growing up in a very poor area in a family below the poverty line, that like I don't have a fallback plan. That's always been something that's been really toxic. And I think perceiving value in money has been really hard for me to understand because I am afraid of not having money, right? Like, I love that my friends are my family here. So if all shit hit the fan tomorrow, I would never be homeless, right? But I've had to plan my whole life around I'm my own contingency plan because other than going back to America and living with my brother, which like my brother's chaos. Like I love the man, but he is the epitome of chaos. Like other than that, I don't have anybody that is like actually obligated to help me. And while that can be super empowering because like you don't have a chance, like there is no opportunity to fail, it's also a little bit scary because it means that you don't have those traditional supports that you would anticipate for you to have. Like I don't have parents that I can call and ask for money if shit hits the fan. You know, I can go stay with a friend, but like everybody has kids, everybody has lives. Like at some point you would become a burden. So I guess that gives me a lot of fuel because I'm like, I can't fail. But also it's scary because you can't fail, right? Like you don't have a fallback plan in that sense. So I've had to shift my relationship with money and my relationship with value because me hoarding money is not the way to live. And I won't repeat the mistakes that my mom did just because I am me. Like when my mom passed, like she lived a life full of fun, but like legitimately was like in a shoebox. And I used to have to send her money for like top ramen every single week because at 65 years old, she just really struggled with money, even though she was always employed. Like she just didn't have a healthy relationship with money. So I've had to get over that fear of knowing that like I'm not going to end up there. I have gone on the complete opposite end of the spectrum to where I've sat down with a financial advisor to be like, how do I retire with this much money at 55? Because I have a certain standard I want to upkeep, which puts pressure on me. But then also I had to invest in seeing the financial advisor to make sure that I understood what I was doing with my money and I needed money to empower me. And women don't talk about money enough. Men love to talk about money. There's all of these statistics about how like, you know, men might be like 60% qualified and walk in and get the job, whereas women feel like you need to be at the 90%. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that you don't see your value. You don't see the transferable skill set that you have in every aspect of your life. So yeah, I've just changed the way that I perceive value. We are about to jump into the year of the horse, and I love that everybody's all into Lunar New Year. I had to correct so many people and be like, guys, it doesn't actually start till the 17th of February, which for future reference, everybody, Lunar New Year shifts every year because it is based on the lunar calendar, right? Makes sense. But this year it actually starts on the 17th of February, which is my grandma's birthday. So I don't know, it feels like it's like a positive omen, right? Like it's going to be the best year yet. I love that it is like, I love that this is trending because I'm all about like, you know, people understanding and embracing other cultures. And as much as I like Logic, the pattern, that app has hit me with the truth real hard sometimes. Or given other people push notifications to let them know what I'm doing based on all the placements of all the things. And I even saw an astrologist at my friend Grace's engagement party who was like, what happened here? What happened here? And I'm like, this is too relevant to not be real. So with that, I think like I love everybody's I love that everyone is in on it, but it starts the 17th of February. And if you're going to lean into the concept of it, I would also recommend that you lean into some of the traditions around Lunar New Year so that you have a better understanding of the culture that you are, I'm going to say romanticizing, but I don't mean that in a negative way. I just can't think of another way to say it. But like, honor the culture that you are supporting in this, because there are so many beautiful transitions and beautiful traditions that come around with the way that you bring in the new year and what you honor. And, if you're going to go a little bit woo woo, like, might as well go all the way, right? I hope that you are enjoying your first official week back into the new year, because like I said, this is when the world really, or Australia really, starts to turn it on. And I will see you next week for a new episode. Bye.